And we're live.
All right, all right, all right. And we're live tonight. What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here. If you guys haven't already, if you guys wouldn't mind, please, if you like this content, to hit the like button there. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. And turn those notifications on so you guys never miss a show. We got Howie on tonight and myself. I want to thank you very much to the person that sent that donation over. I really appreciate you. You're always holding us down. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Let's say what up to a few people, Hal.
Yep.
We got Data Boy, Becky Town in the building.
Missy.
Dorn Blades. We got Sally. How you doing tonight, guys? Good to see you. Redheaded, my man. Good to see you. What up, Carlos? Carlos in the building.
Big Small, Carlos, Maureen.
Silo Stein. What's going on? We got all the usual suspects in here, so we're gonna have a good show tonight. We're gonna get into a few different things. I'm myself going to address my dude Purple Nose real quick and get that out of the way once and for all. And I'm not going to talk about this clown ever again. So, thank you very much, Danny. I appreciate you. Thank you for the donation.
What's up, Sean, Joe Root, Red, Scott?
Oh, Sean, what's up, man? How you doing, Sean? Good to see you. What's up, Bella? How you doing, Bella?
Larry Poughkeepsie.
Hit that like button, guys. And if anybody does want to help support this channel, donate. I got the Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal at the bottom of the ticker here. If you want to be anonymous, I know the people that already do. I won't say your name, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, guys.
Pay or die.
Yeah. Block the whole promo, motherfucker. The silver and lead. That's it, man. So real quick, I'm just gonna address Purple Nose real quick, the stupid bastard over in England, and then I'm never gonna talk about him again. Because he's gonna force me to do nothing other than fucking file some legal action against him. Because I'm tired of hearing this fucking guy. He's all you're doing right now, Purple Nose, is showing your fucking ass. All right. I told you fucking 10 times before, like I've told everybody else on here. Thank you very much, Timothy. I appreciate you, brother. I told you once, and I'll tell you again, like I've told everybody else on here. The paperwork and shit that you're putting out is not me. It is a black person. Their middle name is Ashley, okay? Mine is Alan. And to clear up any confusion from you fucking retards that like to say people are lying, this is my birth certificate, okay? Do you guys see that? Do you see the middle name right here? You can see the whole thing on here, right? You guys can see this? Is it clear or no?
Yeah. Yeah, besides the part that you bit off of it.
Oh, well, that has some personal identifying numbers in the corner, so I just threw $1 on top of it. But you'll see, I had to do this. I had to do this before the show because my camera's not working on my computer. Otherwise, I would have just shown it. So I had to send it to myself. I just took this picture at 9:53 today. Okay, so there you go. So zoom in real good. You'll see middle name Alan, not fucking Ashley. Stupid. So this is the last time I'm gonna say it. You're putting out paperwork on a black person. It is not me, you fucking idiot. Okay? And I'm going to tell you this one last time. In your country, in England, they have very strict laws on defamation and slander. Something that you're doing right now because I've contacted you now 3 different times to tell you, and I know you're watching. Stop doing what you're doing because you are lying on me. What you do from here moving forward is only going to be your fault, and I'm going to leave it at that. Okay? All right. Now.
Hey, Bella. Joe Perry.
What's up, Scott? How you doing, brother? All right, let me close this down. That was enough of that shit. So there you go. So for all you assholes out there fucking regurgitating the nonsense you're hearing from these fucking idiots, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You guys have to come on here and tell lies about us. All we do is come on here and tell the truth about you motherfuckers. Remember that, okay? Because nothing that you're making up is worse than the shit that we have on you people, on police reports, court records, family court dockets for fucking touching children, restraining and protective orders that you fucking lied about now for 3 years. And we're going to get into all of that shit about this fucking neo-Nazi, white supremacist, government informant, fucking rat, and fucking credibly accused child fucking diddler. All right? We're going to get into all that shit tonight. And I'll do 10 more shows because that's how much content we have on this motherfucker. So you could take your little veiled threats and your little bullshit about you're going to say this about me, you're going to say that about me. You can roll them up in a ball and shove them right up your fucking ass, you fucking clown. That's what I think about you and your buddies over there. All right?
Yeah,
And
he tried to use our line with the truth.
What's that?
That he the truth will set you free. He can't lose because he has the truth behind him.
Yeah, that's taken from us. He's been taking notes very well because I've been saying that shit since the beginning about people like him. And we're gonna get into this fucking little lion rat mutt for the remainder of the show here tonight. So I don't even know where to begin because I guess this is going out to more the newer people in the community, I would guess, because most of the people I would say in this chat and in other chats know all about this motherfucker by now. So I guess this is kind of just like a history lesson, sort of, to teach to the new people that are new in this community that might be wondering, what some of the shit going on and being talked about is all about here. So I don't even know. There's so much shit we have on this guy. I don't even know where to begin. What do you think? How should we go about this?
I don't know. Stuff from the beginning, the Nazi stuff.
All right. So yeah, I guess we'll just go from the very beginning in sequential order. I guess that would be the easiest. And I will say this, and I mean this wholeheartedly. After you guys see and hear everything that's presented on this show tonight, and there's going to be other shows because there's that much information about this guy. You can all go out and check out Casper Rosa's website, okay? Because Casper Rosa has multiple videos and multiple posts showing not only the court documents, the court records, the police reports, the restraining orders, the protective orders, the warrants, the paperwork, everything on his channel, okay? Anything that we say regarding this fucking neo-Nazi rat fucking diddler over there, I stand on 100%. It is all corroborated and supported by fucking official court documents and court records that anybody on here who wants to go and look into will get the same records for themselves. There's a lot of things that he'll say and do on here, but he won't say that the paperwork is fake because he knows it's all real. All he can do is try to deflect and point out other things away from you actually reading the paperwork and understanding what it means. And after this show and the other shows that we're going to do, unless you have an IQ under 90, you will all agree and understand who and what that motherfucker really is. And after that, if you don't choose to fucking listen to anything that we're saying, I got to be under the assumption that you support pedos, you support kid diddlers, and you have no problem with neo-Nazis, white supremacists, or government cooperators because you're supporting him.
You're allowed to support government cooperators, but not support a government cooperator who claims he's a mob rat hunter. But I just want to say something real quick before we start. Throughout all, history, we have all of these young men that get drafted into the military. They come home missing arms, legs, fighting for our country. And some of our biggest wars were against the Nazis. Okay? And this guy just spits in our veterans' faces by fucking getting a tattoo of Hitler on his arm. That's the type of person we're dealing with here.
Fucking disgusting. And meanwhile, and we're going to get into the tattoo, and we'll give you the explanations and the lies that he's told about his various anti-Semitic and white supremacist tattoos that he has all over his body, too, which are known as odal runes, okay? And he knows that. And let me pull up a website real quick, because I want to show everybody. I guess we can just do that. It'll be even easier. I'll pull them up, and we can show everybody what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull this up so we can go by it. And you could find these on probably the JDL on the Jewish Defense League, or you could find it on adl.org, which is a government website there. And we'll bring those up and we'll show everybody. If you go on the adl.org, they're fighting against hate for the good. And you could go on there and right on their homepage there, they'll show you all the white supremacist symbolism and the numbers and the ideology and all that shit. And you could see on his various Facebook channels and Facebook pages that he had under his name, all of the same rhetoric and the behavior where he tries saying that, oh, it's not hate, it's just pride. I'm a proud white man and all the bullshit that he talks like that. The guy is such a coward that he can't even come on here and admit what the fuck he is and what he actually believes. That's what a fucking coward this guy is. That's why he hides himself on here and hid himself and his identity, not only on the YouTube, in the MobTube YouTube community, but also on all the other white supremacist websites and platforms that he was on, including 4chan and BitChute and all these other platforms where he ran a show called The Goys in the Hood, okay? That was his channel. He was known as Bruno the Doberman, okay? Why? Because he has Dobermans, and that's what he called himself. And on Kasparov's YouTube channel, you'll be able to pull up videos, and we could put the links on there. Well, you'll see at one point his white supremacist buddies that he was on these platforms with was throwing an Adolf Hitler birthday party, okay? And during the Adolf Hitler birthday party that he was invited to, he helped arrange some of that meeting, and I guess he got the cake for them or something maybe, and I guess he did a live stream with some of his buddies to the party where all these white supremacists from around the world attended, and he was supposed to be a guest there. And in one of the videos, they're shouting out Bruno the Doberman and thanking him for all of his activism and work that he's done in that white supremacist community that he was involved with, that he tried lying about until we proved that it was in fact him. He's a fucking coward and a fucking bitch. And he pretends that he's some fucking honorable, church-going, Bible thumper and all this other shit. He's nothing but a fucking lowlife, a degenerate, and a fucking liar, okay? That's all the guy ever is and all he ever will be. And anybody that supports that motherfucker, stay over there. You're not even welcome here. I'll leave it at that. I don't give a fuck who you are. Take it how you want. All right? So where do we begin? Where do we go back to? When he got exposed, I guess? We'll go back to that?
Yeah.
So basically, when this community started about 5 years ago now, I would say. Oh, thank you very much, Tim and the anonymous person. Thank you guys for that. I appreciate the donations. Thank you very much. So going back 5 years now, we all started out in this community. I myself, including a lot of other people on here, had no idea about, doxing and, putting people's information out and all this back and forth behind the scenes shit that all these people are involved in. So a lot of us, we didn't know who any of these people were. All right. And we all went in each other's chats, went on each other's panels, and got to know one another. Well, as more and more information came out and you start to get to know people and you see how people move on here and the things that they say, you'll slowly try to figure out, who you like and who you don't like for whatever reasons that may be fit to who you are as a person. And there was a lot of things that this guy was saying and he was doing on his channel and channels that he was involved with that I didn't like. And I stepped away from the guy, I would say maybe 4 months into this community being started, because I saw who and what this motherfucker actually was. Although at the time I couldn't prove it, I distanced myself from him. And I'm glad I fucking did. Because as soon as we did find out who he was, okay, and I'll pull that up for you guys right now, when we got his name and his information, which was sent over, by the way, from a individual who went by, what was that guy's name? Somebody in the chat, do you guys remember the guy's name that sent over the email? It was one of these.
Franz.
Yeah, Kurt Franz.
Yeah.
So there was an individual in the community who used to go by the name Kurt Franz, okay? And Kurt Franz was a Nazi SS officer and close aide, I believe, to Adolf Hitler's. And he used to be in these chats, including a bunch of other people that use these Nazi SS officers' names and aides to Hitler and shit like that. Well, one day, Kurt Franz sends over an email to somebody. And in the email, he's telling us in the email that he's been in MRE's chat and that he himself, thank you, Scott, I appreciate you. He himself used to be an anti-Semite and a neo-Nazi and a white supremacist, and explained what the Kurt Franz handle was that he was using in the chats. And he said that he would go into MRE's chat and a couple of his friends' chats from time to time, and he would make little comments that only white supremacists and neo-Nazis and people in those groups would know what he was saying. And he said that the response that he got from MRE and a couple of his buddies in these chats told him that MRE is in fact some type of neo-Nazi and white supremacist. And he explained all of the shit that he was saying in the chat. Now, eventually it came over with a link to another page. When we got that link to another page, a couple of things came together, and we got a link to a to a YouTube channel that he had put in the email. And in that email was a YouTube channel link to MRE's close friend, Damien Argenti. Okay? Now, in Damien Argenti's library of his old videos, he had videos of himself and MRE talking on a video. And MRE has a very distinct and fucking faggot ass fucking voice. He sounds like a fruitcake, all right? You can't make that voice up. Only certain types of fucking weirdos and people that like to touch kids and shit sound like this guy. You want some candy? That type of shit. You know what I'm talking about. Needless to say, we figured out who he was and found out who MRE was. So we went in and we typed his name into fucking Google to see, hey, what can we find out about this guy? Well, this is the first thing that we found out about this guy, and I'll show you right here. It was an article from an arrest back in 2015 of somebody named Nicholas Colacone, also known as MRE. Right here, you'll see. And it says, Rhode Island white supremacist felon arrested with guns and explosives. And you have good old MRE right here, all 340 pounds of this fucking meatball right here, with a nice Hitler and SS helmet right on his arm right there. Do you guys see that? See the tattoo there? Now, this tattoo, when it was brought to his attention, he claimed that this was a zombie from one of his favorite video games. A video game that wasn't even created back in 2015 when he got this tattoo done. I believe he may have even gotten this done in 2014, I believe. Anyways, in this article, right, you will find that MRE was a convicted felon who got raided due to the fact that he was posting various photos on his Facebook pages holding different firearms and weapons. It was allegedly brought to the Rhode Island Johnston Police Department's attention that he was a convicted felon who was in possession of firearms, and they opened up an investigation. When they started investigating him, they in fact realized that yes, he is in fact a convicted felon, and he's obviously showing and holding various weapons in his possession, which is a direct violation of the law. So they drew up a search warrant and raided his house, or his apartment, I should say, okay? And you could read about the article on Breitbart.com. You can read about it in the Rhode Island journals, the Johnston Journal, local newspapers. It was all over the news, all right? And we confronted MRE to ask him about the allegations that were made in this Breitbart article, claiming that he was a neo-Nazi, white supremacist, who had a tattoo of Hitler and SS helmet and all that stuff on him. And when it was brought to his attention and he was asked about it, he claimed that the reason why he had the tattoo was because he was a history buff. A history buff. I'm sorry, but I went to elementary school, middle school, high school. I went to college, graduated. I've had a lot of different history and social studies teachers. I have never met one that had a fucking tattoo of Hitler because they liked history. Have you?
Nope.
No. I mean, how fucking ridiculous is that? And I'm pretty sure that if one of the teachers did have a tattoo of Hitler, I'm sure the school would know about it, and they might want to have a pretty good explanation as to why the fuck they would have that on their arms or their body anywhere. They probably wouldn't have a job for very long, if you ask me. Needless to say, at the time, MRE was closely affiliated and friends with the person you now know as Mickey, who's Angel Gotti, right? He was a regular guest on that show and a regular panel, as a lot of us were. I used to go on Mickey's show all the time, okay? So when these people want to talk about, oh, these guys were stands of me, they used to come in my chat, they used to come on my fucking panel. Yeah, and so did you. You used to go on everybody's panels just like everybody else on here did. I used to go on Mickey's panel all the time. I had carte blanche. I could go on there whenever I wanted. She used to love when I used to come on her show. We got the videos to show that too. What the fuck does that mean? My point is that when you start finding out who certain people are and the layers start getting peeled back and you realize who these people are and what they fucking stand for, it's up to you as a person to remove yourself from that. Because if you don't, you're going to be looked at and grouped up as the same, which is how I'm looking at all the people that still support this guy till this day. All right? Because if you don't have a problem with any of the shit that we found out about this guy, it's one of two things. Either you don't care or you have the same ideologies and feel the same way that he does, because there's no other explanation for any other reason than that, because it's that black and white. So I don't even listen. There's so much stuff. I don't even know how to fucking go through all that. You want to add anything to this before we start getting into the weeds here?
So he kept denying everything and making up excuses. And at the time, Angel was friendly with him, and she kept sticking up for him. Otherwise, he probably would have left at that point. If it wasn't for her sticking up for him, he would have been gone. But because she did stick up for him, and her chat follow her like she's a cult leader, it gave him the courage to stay. But a lot of shit came out with that paperwork. His medical records were came up in the paperwork, and it turned out he's been in mental institutions, and he's a self-admitted heroin addict. And the only reason why I say that is because he makes fun of people who have drug problems. But meanwhile, just like he's a fucking rat and a fucking Nazi and a diddler and a drug addict. He's always attacking people for the same things that he is. And exactly. that guy in the photo is a big white supremacist guy.
Yeah. So this guy on the photo on the screen that you're looking at right now, his name is Patrick Little. Okay. Now, Patrick Little is an outspoken anti-Semite and white supremacist who had a big following on here. And I believe that the guy even tried running for fucking a Senate seat in California. And he might have tried running for president of the United States. The guy's a total whack job. Anyways, this is a photo right here on your screen that you're looking at of MRE with Patrick Little inside of his house. He invited him over and they hung out at his house together, which he tried to deny and claim that he only met the guy one time. And I'll remind everybody of this. There's a video, you can find it on Casper Rose's page, or we could put the link up to it afterwards, of MRE and Patrick Little out in public with a sign that says Jews RAPE kids. And they went down to Brown University in Rhode Island, which is a well-known big Jewish community that lives there, to go out and spread their quote-unquote activism and their plight against the fucking Jews that they hate, which they'll deny till this day, but it's a fact, okay? It's an undeniable fact, all right? Now, he also had a channel on BitChute, okay? BitChute and 4chan, I believe, are some type of alt-right websites and alt-right media platforms where a lot of these people go on there and they spread their hate and their anti-Semitism and their fucking beliefs and shit like that. And MRE had a channel on there, a radio channel or podcast, whatever you want to call it. And the name of it was called Goys in the Hood, where he would routinely platform various individuals, including platforming this individual right here, which I'll show you. 1 second, let me pull this up.
What's a goy?
A goy means goyim. It's a shortened word for the word goyim, and that's a non-Jewish person, basically, I believe.
Okay.
If I'm could be corrected in the chat, somebody let me know. That's what I believe it is though. It's a term for a non-Jewish person or Gentile, that like the people in the Bible, the non-Jews from like the Bible. It's like some religious shit. Anyways, there's an individual on the screen right here. This guy was going under the nickname or screen name of Holy Sheet. Okay, it was a play on words from holy shit, and it was Holy Sheet, SHEET. All right. Now, this individual, as you can see, has some type of like cross flag in the background. He's another outspoken KKK member, Klansman, government informant who used to be a police officer, allegedly. All that information is also on Casper Rose's YouTube channel where you can pull up the videos and look through his community posts and find all this information on there. All right. Now, this is somebody that was on Angel Gotti's show with MRE. Now, Angel claims that she's the one that brought the guy up there. It wasn't MRE's fault. Completely missing the point that the only reason that that guy knows about the channel is because MRE brought him over there. He didn't, out of the million channels on YouTube, he didn't just pull your channel out of a hat and show up there and realize that he knew fucking MRE. All right. So you guys see this right here? This Clans guy?
Yep.
So this is the same guy that I was just showing you on this post right here. Okay. That was brought onto Mickey's show. All right. That was somebody who used to co-host and go on streams on the Goys in the Hood channel with MRE. Okay. So once again, it was proven that not only is he a white supremacist and anti-Semite, but he hangs out and associates with other well-known anti-Semite, white supremacists, and KKK members, including that individual who went on Angel Gotti's show that he used to do podcasts with on his Goys in the Hood channel on BitChute. All right? That's who this guy is, okay? Now, when we found out about his court paperwork and we found out that he was, in fact, a convicted felon, and I'll bring up this court paperwork too, because we got everything on this guy. Let me make sure I have the right one here, because there's two different ones I want to talk about. So we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and Angel knew all about this when she invited him over to her house.
Yes, she did. But she chose, the key word there is I chose not to look at any of it. Not that she looked at any of it and didn't care. No, she said that she chose not to look at any of it. So that's not our fault. That's her fault. That's called willful ignorance. Okay? That's called willful ignorance. It's her fault that she didn't look through any of this shit. Because if she did, she knew that she wouldn't be able to run from any of it. Okay? So this one right here, huh?
In her case, it was willful lying.
Well, that too. Yeah, willful lying. That's a good word for it. I want to make sure I'm pulling up the right one. Sorry. I got everything loaded on the stream here.
Yeah, she invited him over to spend a few nights with her daughter.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Because evidently they became an item.
I believe this is it right here. 1 second. Let me make sure I'm adding the right. Oh, yeah, this is it right here. Okay. All right. Let me share the stream. Add to the stream. Okay. So when we found out after the Breitbart article that MRE was a convicted felon, okay, and then we found out that MRE never went to jail for any of these alleged crimes that he got caught with on the Breitbart article, including multiple firearms, narcotics, ammunition, bulletproof vests, and 18 IEDs, improvised explosive devices. When he was asked about this, MRE had previously claimed that he got caught with 3 M80s in a coffee can, okay? Which we will later show you and prove that, no, it was in fact 18 IEDs. We have letters written from the ATF, okay, to the court explaining with pictures and information on exactly what it was that he got caught with at his house, which he still lies about to this day because he knows he can't explain why all of these charges disappeared, okay? Now, when they asked him, how come you had firearms? You were a convicted felon, okay? He claimed that he didn't know that he was a convicted felon because back in 1999, he got arrested for selling marijuana, which he lied about and claimed that he wasn't selling marijuana. What happened is that he was staying at his grandmother's house. The house got raided, and he took responsibility for the marijuana because his cousin who was living at the house at that time was on parole with the ankle bracelet on. And if his cousin took the charge, he would have had to go away for 10 years. Okay. MRE claimed he wasn't the one selling the drugs. He blames his cousin like he does with everything else. He can take no accountability for anything that he says or anything that he does because he's a coward and he's everything that we're telling you he is. He tried to blame his cousin for it. Well, I want you to read the paperwork here on the screen right here, okay? Because it clearly lays out the arrest report from when they went to the house and executed the search warrant, okay? And it says that the detective, Raymond Angeli of the Cranston Police Department Narcotics Unit, was advised that he received information from a reliable, confidential informant that narcotics trafficking was taking place at this address in Johnston, okay? And that the suspect is Nicholas Colacone, not his cousin, not somebody else that was on parole. And I want you guys to understand this very clearly too, because when liars lie, they don't think about all the possible things that they need to cover and explain for, because they're stupid people. That's why they're lying in the first place. If somebody is on parole, okay, and their home address or any address that they're staying at on paper that they're on parole, they don't need a search warrant to go inside that home. You're considered an inmate living in society. You don't have those rights to searches and seizures. You're still considered an inmate in custody of the state or place that you live in, okay? So they wouldn't have needed to execute a search warrant in order to go into the house to get these quote-unquote drugs he's trying to blame his cousin for. They would have just went right into the fucking house and picked up the cousin and got the weed out of the house. They wouldn't have needed to do a search warrant and to sit on the house and watch these drug deals go on before they asked a judge for a warrant to search the home, okay? So that's where his first big fuck up is, when he's trying to blame his cousin for what he was doing, okay? So the detective at the narcotics division got information that Nicholas Colacone was selling drugs out of the house, okay? They responded with detectives to secure a search warrant, which was signed by the judge. Surveillance was set up on the dwelling, which revealed numerous vehicles stopping at the dwelling for short periods of time and then leaving. They received further information that Colacone was to pick up more marijuana on Thursday, and he determined that the search warrant would not be executed at this time. They waited until Thursday. I did meet with detective and other members of the Cranston Police Department Narcotics Unit, at which time we did further surveillance conducted on the address. The search warrant was then executed at approximately 1500 hours, okay? And at which time Nicholas Colacone was the only person at the home, okay? So when they were surveilling the home, watching the cars come in and out of the driveway, that narcotics activity was reported was taking place, he was the only one that was there. So then they executed a search warrant on the property, and it was given to them, okay? I believe the name they have blacked out is the mother or grandmother at the time. The only person that was there. I conducted a search of the bedroom belonging to Nicholas Colacone. Upon the search, the bedroom closet, I found a green trash bag containing a clear plastic freezer bag, which contained 3 clear plastic bags of marijuana packets for resale. Other contraband was located in the dwelling. An arrest warrant for Nicholas Colacone was obtained for possession with the intent to deliver a controlled substance and possession of a controlled substance. A field test proved that it was marijuana, and the evidence was secured based and placed into the intelligence locker. Okay? So, once again, when he was confronted about his felony case and asked about it and what his involvement was in this case, he couldn't take responsibility for himself and just admit that he, in fact, was selling drugs, because he likes to come on here and make fun of drug addicts and call people drug dealers and do all that shit.
Didn't they find methadone?
That was in the 2015 raid. This was the 1999 case. Yeah, okay. We'll get into that next. So this is all involving the original arrest that he has, that he got the felony conviction for in Rhode Island, that barred him for the rest of his life from owning or possessing any types of firearms, okay? Now, we'll fast forward to the 2015 case from the Breitbart article, right? Where a convicted felon, whose house, by the way, was adorned with white supremacist and Nazi regalia and insignia. He had SS bolt flags on the wall, Nazi swastikas. He's got a fucking Hitler tattoo, an SS Waffen-Luffen, whatever the fucking name of their soldiers are, skulls on his arm with a helmet with a swastika on it. He's got odal runes on his right arm and all kinds of other white supremacist neo-Nazi insignias all over his body that he claims was from a video game on here, conveniently. I mean, can you imagine this shit? And there's people on here that fucking we're taking his word for it and fucking believe in the guy. That's the part that I find most incredible, is the stupidity of the fucking people. in this community, or the ignorance that they showed when being presented with this undeniable fucking evidence. Okay. Now, not to mention the Breitbart article, the house being decorated with swastikas, SS bolts, and all types of fucking German flags and all sorts of other shit. We have pictures from his Facebook page where he would make Nazi, what the fuck are those things called? The little figurines and shit the little weirdo would play with, the dolls and all that shit.
Yeah, they're called figurines, I believe.
Well, what were the things he was making? Dioramas.
Dioramas, yeah, that's right.
Dioramas.
Yeah.
He was making dioramas of German officers hanging fucking Jews off of a bridge, or hanging up different countries' people with Hitler in a fucking van. The guy's a total weirdo and shit. All right. Then on top of that, that's what he would give his nieces or nephews and shit, toys to play with. There would be Nazi fucking figurines and shit like that. The weird motherfucker. And we'll get into that in a minute here. All right. Yeah, dioramas. Oh, dioramas. Now, he claimed that the M80s that he didn't have, by the way, he had M80s at his house. Those were taking the fireworks. But he also had 18 IEDs, okay, improvised explosive devices. And we'll get to that. We got a video I'll play you from Casper Rose's channel. You could see exactly what they were and what the ATF report said that they were. They were classified and defined as improvised explosive devices by ATF laws and statutes. That's what he had, okay? They were makeshift bombs with ball bearings and pieces of metal and chunks of fucking shrapnel and shit like that. So when they exploded, they would cause maximum damage. Now, he claimed when he was asked why he had some of these IEDs, he said that he used to use them to blow up his dioramas and videotape them, but that he blew up one of them and it made such a mess, it really didn't get what he wanted on video, so he never did it again, right? Now think about how fucking stupid this is. So you're going to claim that you were making improvised explosive devices to light off and place on top of a diorama to make it look like it was a real bomb exploding during these war scenes, whatever weird shit that he's saying, but that the first one he did caused so much damage that it didn't work out because it broke everything or fucked everything up too much, that it was too powerful. So he didn't want to do that anymore because it caused too much damage. Then why did you make 18 other ones after you made that one, if that one didn't do what you wanted it to do on camera? Why would you then go and make another 18 of them?
And why would you make one with steel balls and stuff that can do more damage?
Exactly. And he had a smiley face drawn on one of them. A smiley face with ball bearings and shrapnel and shit inside of it. Now, if you're standing anywhere near one of these explosive devices, I don't even care if you're 100, 200 yards away, with the metal and ball bearings and shit that he put inside these little makeshift, they were like cardboard, basically like a toilet paper roll, like a cardboard sleeve like that, with explosive powder inside of them, with ball bearings, shrapnel, and a wick and all that shit. They were all taped up with duct tape and then insulated with more explosives and more pieces of shrapnel. They were IEDs. That's what it's called, an improvised explosive device. Anytime that you take something out of its original use and you use it in order to make a makeshift explosive, which is why it's called improvised. You improvised a device that was made to explode, classified by the ATF to cause great bodily injury and harm. You violated the laws, okay? He got caught with 18 of them, okay, which he lies about till this day. Now, the craziest part about this lie is we have the report from the ATF. We have the letter and the email they wrote with their lab statistics and them coming back and telling the Johnston Police Department that, yes, these were 18 IEDs, and they had photos of them, which I'll pull up in just a second here. Let me pull these up. Let me see. I got the timestamp on here too. Let me pull this up. Hold me down for 1 second. I gotta get this video.
Yeah. Well, I heard that Maddie and Zio think they're tough guys.
Oh, well,
God. I got a message for them. If you guys want to go a few rounds, you bite it first.
Yeah, right. Give me a break. So hold on. Let me add this to the stream. All right, that's on there, right?
Yeah.
Computer for child pornography.
Oh, we'll get into that too.
I do not know if it was related to Colacone being investigated for sex crimes against a 3-year-old girl in 2000.
Sorry. We'll get to that.
Based on the outcome from the.
This is the strangest way I've ever seen to eliminate type 2 by 2026. Here's how to do it. This is the last time I'm sharing.
Sorry about
From
that.
the U.S. Attorney's Office and the related.
So right here, this is a letter, okay, that's talking about an email that the special agent Robitaille got, okay? A federal officer was indicating that a viable federal charge in this case was the possession of a destructive device, okay? Now, this right here is a photo of the...
Drinking warm water with cinnamon before bed eliminates this blue parasite in the pancreas, regulates blood...
This right here...
1899, no commercials.
Yeah, no, right? All right, this is a photo right here. Do you guys see what this is here? This is a picture from the ATF after they took apart some of the IEDs that he made. You can see there, he's holding the cylinder inside of it. All this stuff is packed in there with these ball bearings and pieces of metal inside of this explosive shield. And you see the green wick sticking out the back end of it, right? Everybody see that? That is one of the IEDs, okay? He had over 12 of these things, all right? Now, when we got the information about the Breitbart article, we started thinking to ourselves, how the fuck did a convicted felon who gets caught with 5 or 6 firearms, cases of ammunition, narcotics, a bulletproof vest, brass knuckles, and 18 improvised explosive devices, not only not get convicted of a single one of these crimes, but also never served a fucking day in jail? Now, I've been alive for 40 years. I've never seen or heard anything like this unless there's only one reasonable explanation, is that the person cooperated, which would explain why they were never formally brought up on charges or convicted of any of these. Because I know people, and you can look at this, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, when Joe Biden was president of the United States, okay, his son, Hunter Biden, was indicted by his FBI, by his Department of Justice, by his ATF, okay, was indicted for lying on a federal firearms form when he didn't specify that he was a drug addict when he purchased the firearms. He was not only indicted, he went to court, went to trial, and got convicted of that charge while his father was the president of the United States, okay? And the only reason why he didn't spend a day in prison was because before his father left office, he pardoned him, okay? Now, he's telling people on here that the reason why he was able to beat these charges was because he didn't know that he was a convicted felon at the time that he had these firearms, and that he hired a special attorney named Bobby Brajol, whatever the fucking guy's name was, who specialized in cases like these, and he was able to get the case thrown out of court. Now, his original story is, and it's unfortunate that Mickey took the show down. I challenged him, Mickey, put the shows back up when MRE first came on here and was answering questions when we started pulling out this case before we got his paperwork and what his answers were, so you can see the progression of the lies that he's told on here, where his story constantly changes. You will never hear this guy tell you the same answer twice because he doesn't remember all of his fucking lies. That's how many lies he's fucking told on here. He can't remember all of them. So what he'll do is that he's relegated to only saying like, oh, you're going to go listen to the people that talk to rats. They're fucking rat lovers. Oh, they got dirty fingernails. He has to do all that shit. What he can't do is question the paperwork. He can't say that the paperwork's fake because he knows it's fucking real because it came from the courthouse. He knows the paperwork came from the police department. And he knows the other paperwork came from the ATF and the federal government. And he knows it's all fucking real, which is why he won't say any of it is fake. He'll just try to deflect and point out shit that have nothing to do with any of the facts of what was actually written on the paper and what he said, because that's all he can do is deflect. Just like when he was calling people, I think he said, I grew up, I wanted to be a wigger. I wanted to be black. I wanted to be a wigger. Meanwhile, the last time I checked, his best friend, Damien, is the guy that wanted to be a rapper who used to have, who had a failed fucking rap career because they couldn't fucking make it and shit, that worked for a local fucking hip hop radio station and listen nothing to fucking rap music and shit like that, and he wants to call other people wiggers, that's pretty rich of him. That's pretty rich of you coming out of your mouth. We'll show some videos on that too. You can check them out on Damien's channel.
You probably can find those clips that Common Sense is talking about that Angel took down on Guardian's channel or Kasparosa's.
Yeah, we'll put links to it. If somebody can put Guardian of the Night's channel in the chat, please, because you can find a lot of some of the clips on here. Now, as often as I get accused of taking clips or sending people screenshots, shit like that, whatever, I don't have any of this stuff. I haven't even thought about any of this shit in over like 2 years now. But this asshole wanted to open up his mouth, I guess, and start talking about me and making insinuations that I tried to frame him with Lefty and Carlos. I guess he wanted to open up his mouth and try to get ahead of the curve. And for the people that aren't smart enough to realize what's going on right now, why do you think he went on earlier and did a live when we had the show scheduled for tonight? It's called damage control. He's trying to get his narrative out there first because he knows exactly what's going to happen on the show tonight. And somebody told me that he extended some type of olive branch of he won't talk about me if I don't talk about him. Go fuck yourself. I don't care what you do, because anything that you do is lies. Anything that we do is proof. And we will support that shit with court documents, police reports, restraining orders, protective orders, letters from the ATF, letters to the court, and court paperwork. Something that you can't do with any of the shit you claim. I even heard this asshole, he keeps telling people that I'm a failed lawyer and that I couldn't be a lawyer like my father. Jerk off. I've said this on here multiple times. My father barely graduated high school. He wasn't a fucking lawyer, you fucking retard. You stupid bastard. And I wasn't a lawyer either. I went to school for legal studies. I have an undergrad in legal studies and a paralegal certificate. I wasn't trying to be a lawyer. I got a felony when I was 20 years old. I can never become a lawyer. I have a felony record, stupid. So stop. See, this is what I'm talking about.
No, but you might be able to become a lawyer if you don't know that you're a felon.
Oh shit! You know what? Maybe I should go to law school and tell him I didn't know that I was a felon. I forgot about that time I got arrested for fucking selling drugs like fucking he did, right?
Yeah, you know, when you're a convicted felon, people, that just attempting to fill out the application is enough for you to get 5 years.
Yeah, just lying on that form is correct. Lying on the form, like I said,
and or just attempting to fill it out because you know you're a convicted felon.
Yes, and I'll give you an example. I gave you one earlier. The president of the United States' son was indicted, tried, and convicted for not saying that he was a drug addict when he purchased a firearm. Something we're going to get into regarding MRE, who likes to call people junkies and heroin addicts, all that. Because when MRE got arrested in 2015 and we got his paperwork and subsequently got some of his medical records, okay, not only did MRE have bottles of methadone at the house where he's in the police report stating, those are my take-homes, I have a weakness for heroin, okay? Also, during the previous court records and information that came out, he had been a long-time opiate and heroin addict for 20 years since the early 2000s, late 90s, where he was on and off of taking methadone and Suboxone frequently, off and on again, okay? This is the guy who likes to call people junkies and heroin addicts and all that shit. No, once again, it's deflection. He likes to point and tell other people what they are because that's what he is. We see everybody on here do it. It's all fucking deflection, okay? He is a longtime opioid and heroin addict, self-admitted. We have the medical records and the paperwork. We've shown it on here before, and we'll show it again, okay, out of his own mouth. Now, he wants to talk about people being scared or getting scared of doing time, not doing time. Ask MRE why, when he got arrested, was he so scared that he was telling them he had chest pains, that he had a massive heart attack and had to undergo open heart fucking surgery because he was freaking out about the case that he just caught and how much time he was going to do. That he was also in the medical paperwork committed to a mental institution on 2 or 3 different occasions. And you know when he was went to the mental institute? I'm going to tie all this in for you guys. In 2009, okay? Well, do you know what happened in 2008 and 2009? MRE was accused by his niece's mother of touching his niece, okay? She filed a report with the police department, and then an investigation ensued. And after, okay, she went and got a restraining order against him and brought them to family court to get the visitation rights taken away from his brother to see his own child. MRE went, according to the mother and the daughter, touched him again on one of their visits to the father during his visitation rights. So then she filed another report with the court. And then they completely removed the brother's visitation rights, and he had to sign off on this, and he was only allowed to see his children at the court under court supervision because of MRE diddling the fucking niece and touching her inappropriately. And guess at what time MRE had to go into the mental institute? At the same time these allegations were being made about him, okay? Now, I think we can all, I guess, draw a conclusion here to understand why the nutcase had to go into a mental institute a couple of times, and possibly why the family, all right, might not all go after him or call him out on this shit because they know Uncle Nicky's a fucking mental case and he's been institutionalized before. Don't forget, this is the guy who came on here and used to call somebody Uncle Bad Touch, when it turns out that the real Uncle Bad Touch, Deflection, turned out to be him himself. They probably call him Uncle Bad Touch. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, and then he goes and names himself Mob Rats Exposed when he's a fucking rat himself. Deflection.
So this right here, let me see. I gotta see up which one that pulls it up right here. So this one right here, I'm gonna pull up. We'll pull up this StreamYard page here. I hate that I can't pull up multiple of these. It'll make my life so much easier. But give me a second here. I want to make sure I got the right one. Sorry. I gotta close down some of these other windows. My apologies. Okay, yeah, right here. So during the 2015 case, okay, when his computer was confiscated by the police, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Can I click on that better or no? I don't know if you can see that very good. Can you guys see this very good? Well, if not, this is on Casper Rose's channel on his post page. You guys can pull it up. All right. This paperwork right here, okay. When MRE was presented this paperwork right here. Now, this is from 2015. Now, I'm going to explain what happened. In 2015, when a search warrant was executed at his house, after he posted numerous Facebook pages and photos under his name and his control, holding multiple different firearms, and they went and executed a search warrant at his house. During the investigation, they seized all of his computers and digital devices because they were going to look through them to see what he was involved with and any additional evidence and photos that they could get to use against him being a convicted felon and possession of firearms, okay? Now, what happens is when a police department confiscates electronic devices, okay, they all go in there and they have a program. And what they do is they run scans on the computer, okay? And what part of those scans are is that it'll pop up for people that are involved in, some of this dark web shit, like some of these onion routers or dark web pages or sites and shit that they can access. They look for any photos. They look for any pages that are involved in anything regarding, children or anything regarding Department of Homeland Security, which would be domestic terrorism shit, because this guy had an apartment adorned with Nazi flags and SS flags and a Hitler tattoo and all that. He was looked at as a domestic homegrown terrorist. That's what these people were looked at. And don't forget, during this time, during this administration, when Obama was in office, their number one fight in this country was against domestic terrorism, something that he was clearly called not only in the Breitbart, but in all of the arresting articles that were written in multiple newspapers and news channels across the country, because this arrest that they had was world news, okay? It was on Breitbart, for God's sakes, all right? Now, when they're running these scans on these computers and they're searching through things for the dark web or anything regarding homeland security or domestic terrorism or child endangerment, child pornography, shit like that. It all gets scanned. So what happened is, when they were originally looking through his computer, they were only looking for stuff relating to firearms. And what happened is, as soon as they started doing a scan on Uncle Nicky's computer, it popped up that he had been on or involved with websites and information pertaining to child pornography. You understand? Child porn, PDF file stuff. All right. Now, in order for that evidence to be admissible in court, the officers needed to get a search warrant, and they had to show the chain of custody, how they got this information. So as soon as they were done running the scan on his computer and it came back that he was involved with some of this child pornography and PDF files, the officer who was doing the search sent over a search warrant to a judge to sign off, specifying that they wanted to search the computer for child pornography. Okay? That's where that piece of information that's up on the screen right now is speaking about. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have. No, not Uncle Mickey, Uncle Nicky, Uncle Bad Touch, Nicholas Colacone, him, MRE. Okay? Now, I don't care who you are, how many times you've been arrested, have a search warrant, anything. I want somebody to show me when they were being investigated for being a drug dealer or being a firearms dealer, a weapons dealer. How many of those people had to go back and get a new search warrant and search and seizure warrant on their devices or their computer to look for child porn on their computers? Because it does not happen, okay? The reason why it happened is because Uncle Nicky, okay, as we later found out, because don't forget, we did not find out about the information with the niece until about a year or a year and a half later. All the information regarding the white supremacist, the neo-Nazi, the racist shit, and him being a government cooperator and his cases being dismissed due to federal involvement, we all found out that a year to a year and a half prior to ever learning or finding out about this incident regarding his niece. And I'll tell you how that came about, okay? Now, what happened is, okay, during our investigations on the Nazi chomo rat Diddler over there, somebody spoke to someone in his family, okay? Now, someone in the family told somebody that we know. I don't know if you guys know this or know about the incident that he had with his niece. The person said, well, what do you mean incident with the niece? What are you talking about? They says, oh, well, I don't know if you know or not, but allegedly there was something between him and his niece involving some diddling or some shit like that. Now, when that information came to us, okay, and Kasparov also found out about it, he started investigating it to vet the source to find out, hey, what is this exactly about? Is there any truth to this? Because if there is, I want to know exactly what these people are talking about. So what did he do? He started getting FOIA requests, okay? And he started FOIA requesting the Johnston Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, and the FBI regarding this individual, okay? And what came back is, a couple of months later, that there in fact was a police report and a police call that the mother, the niece's mother, so his brother's ex, the mother of their child, of his niece, called the police department to tell them that her uncle, MRE, Nicholas Colacone, was sexually touching and fondling her daughter, 3 years old at the time. That's when an investigation began after the phone call was made, okay? Now, when we got this when Kasparov got the police report, he came out and put it out immediately. He wasn't sure originally if he wanted to put it out right away or if we should wait to find out the rest of the information before we put it out. But he talked to somebody and told them about this, and we came to the conclusion, listen, if this guy is out there and he's possibly not only touched his niece, but he could be touching other kids, I think we need to make a public service announcement and let everybody know who and what this motherfucker is, just in case they may leave their child around this guy at one time. God forbid, who knows what the fuck's going to happen, okay? So he decided to put it out there in good faith, okay? And what we got met with was the detractors, the liars, and the scumbags that supported him with the Nazi, white supremacist, anti-Semite shit and the government cooperation shit, doing exactly what they did in that case and trying to deflect on it now and looking away from what the paperwork actually said and just pointing at where it was coming from. That's when all of a sudden they started, talking shit about Casparosa, tried giving him nicknames. They started calling him obsessed and said he's crazy. Meanwhile, and we'll play the clip for you, and I'll send it.
All of Mickey's supporters.
Yeah, all of Mickey's supporters. We'll play when they talk about these people used to love me. They used to be my stands. Well, guess what? MRE used to be a big Casparosa stand too. And we have the clip of it where MRE is on Mickey's show, okay? And he's talking about and challenging Chris Casparosa and Jeff Canarsie to go and look through all of his paperwork, to go and read anything that they can on it, and to come back here because he said these guys are very thorough at what they do. They're very good journalists. And if they can look at it and they can come back, they're not going to come on here and put false wires or no bullshit on anybody. So I want them to look at it and come back and tell us what they find out. Well, what happened? Casparosa went, saw the paperwork, and saw everything in his file and came out and said, yes, you have sealed paperwork. The feds were involved in your case. You lied about it. And I have reason to believe you were a government cooperator and confidential informant for the FBI. Why don't you unseal your paperwork? And he put out a challenge to him. And he said, sign a piece of paperwork. We'll use a third-party attorney, and you could sign it to get your paperwork unsealed. That he refuses to do. Now, he has a channel called Mob Rats Exposed where he goes after government cooperators and informants. When he himself has paperwork that is sealed and no explanation for what happened to any of these disappearing cases that he has on here. And all he has done since the day this information has come out is lied about it. Not only has he lied about it, he's changed the lies multiple times, okay? Got caught in the fucking lies to come up with new lies, and then he'll altogether just avoid it, which is why he will never grab a link on a show that I'm on where I can question him or ask him anything. You're going to hear him say shit like, oh, he's a rat lover. He supports rats. I don't talk to people like that. No, that's just an excuse for him not to come on here and face the fucking music and reality of being asked real questions, not going on user-friendly panels or in chats that fucking just support him because they too are also the same scumbags that fucking he is. Okay? Because that's the only thing you could be if you still are in that guy's chat and support him. And I don't give a fuck who you are. If you think I'm talking about you, I am. If the shoe fits, wear it. Okay? For all the people on here that claim that they don't support fucking rats, they don't support government cooperators, they don't support white supremacists or fucking Nazis or racists, none of that. Yes, you do. If you're in his chat, yes, you fucking do. So stop talking about it because you do it every time you're in there or let him into one of your fucking chats. And that's not a matter of public opinion. These are facts. Okay? Facts corroborated, supported, and documented by legal paperwork from the court, from the police department, the Johnston District Court, the Johnston Superior Court, the federal government, and the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Okay? All in there, all in the paperwork. And any time that he's ever asked about any of this, he deflects and he lies. When he was first asked, because we already knew, see, we would put things out there just to get him to come on panel, knowing he had to talk about it to make an explanation because people would ask. We would put stuff out there just to hear what his response was going to be so we could lock him in on that lie, knowing we already might have had the answer to this shit. We just wanted to see if he was going to tell the truth or not. And every single time we put something out, he came on and lied. Just like when we had the information or heard about him touching the niece, okay? He was on Mickey's show when this was getting put out there, okay? And she had asked him a question on one of her shows, and she says, have you ever hurt animals or pets or anything like that? And his answer, oh God, no, never. Okay, have you ever hurt or been accused of ever doing anything to a child or a minor? Oh God, no, never, no, never. Well, that was a lie because you had been accused of touching a child. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, okay? Now, we came out and we put out the police report, okay, where the mother accused him of touching the niece. She came home one day and told her that Uncle Nicky had been inappropriately touching her while she was over during visits at his brother's house. So the mother called 911 and made a report, right? Now, MRE claims his response is that he didn't know anything about this. He was never asked or questioned by anyone in a police department, court, or otherwise about these allegations being made against him. So to you new people, I ask, people that do or don't have children, do you think that if somebody calls a police department and says that somebody has been inappropriately touching, fondling, groping, or molesting a child, that the police didn't follow up on that phone call and interview or ask any questions about the person that was being accused? Who in here actually believes that? I want to know, does anybody in the chat actually believe that a mother made a report to a police department about Nikki touching their daughter and the police never investigated, followed up, or asked him a single question about this? Who in this chat believes that that never happened? We'll wait, because there's not a person on earth that believes that he wasn't interviewed, questioned, or asked about that incident after it was reported. It's against the law for them not. It's called mandated reporting. If somebody at a school, a counselor, psychologist, daycare worker, anybody that has anything to do in that child's life has a mandated responsibility to go through and report any possible crimes or anything of that nature directly to law enforcement. And by law, by statute, both federally and on the state level, has to follow up and investigate any and all claims of abuse or accusations regarding a child by law. All right? He claimed he was never even asked, spoken, or questioned about it. So thank you for going on and lying about it, because then what happened after that? We got the paperwork for the restraining order that was filed by the mother when MRE refused to stay away from the niece, because I guess the mother went to his brother and asked him not to let MRE around her fucking daughter when she was over there for visits. And what happened? The daughter went over there. MRE was at the house. The kid came back and said, Uncle Nicky touched me again. So she went to the court, to the family court, and filed a restraining order. Now, how this works. When you file a restraining order, or you're requesting a restraining order, depending on where you live, but this goes for all states, what you are originally granted is called a TRO. It's called a temporary restraining order, okay? Which means it's temporary because you have to have a court date. The person that's involved and the person being accused who the order is against has a right to defend themselves, to show up in court and give their side of the story. So a TRO is issued, a temporary restraining order. And in the meantime of the temporary restraining order and the actual protective order or permanent restraining order can be filed, the court has to notify the individual who that restraining order is going against to be notified and served, okay? What that means is that you can't go and file a restraining order against somebody and it granted by a court, because if the person isn't served and notified that they're under a restraining order, how are they going to know not to violate the order if they were never notified? Okay? So it is by law, it is mandated that the person the restraining order is for has to get notified and served by a court constable, a court marshal, or the local police department or sheriff, depending on where you live and the state and municipality. They have different people who serve this paperwork to these individuals. But regardless of the fact is that everybody gets served and notified, and they are issued a court date when they are served and notified, which MRE got. There was a court date, okay? Now, the court date means that on that court date, he had a right to defend himself on why they don't need the restraining order and why the accusations being leveled against him are not true or false. Well, what happened when that court date came up at the family court to ask the judge for a restraining order? Do you want to know who didn't show up to that hearing?
MRE.
MRE did not show up to the hearing where he was being accused of touching his niece, where the mother was asking the court to file a restraining order for Uncle Nicky to stay away from her daughter, okay? The brother was there and signed the paperwork. Okay. The brother was also notified. He was a part of this. It was Nicholas and his brother. Now, Nick, MRE, claimed that this had nothing to do with him and it must have been between the mother and his brother, and they never told him about it. No, you're lying. Your name is in the paperwork. Your name is on the court records at the family court. Your name is the accusation that's being made that was touching the niece. It wasn't your brother. So what happened after the court issued the restraining order? That means that a judge heard and saw enough evidence from the mother that he granted a restraining order be filed against MRE to stay away from his niece during his brother's supervision per their custody agreement. And a couple of months later, what winds up happening? The daughter goes to the brother's house. The daughter comes home and the daughter tells the mother, Uncle Nicky was over there and he touched me again. The mother was furious and went back down to that same courthouse and now asked for the brother to lose all custody rights because he wasn't following the rules and guidelines set up by that restraining order for Uncle Nicky not to be in the presence of his children when they were there for visitations. Okay. So they had another court hearing. And at this court hearing, the judge not only issued a restraining order, but the judge removed all of his brother's rights to see his own children unless it was court appointed and supervised at the courthouse under court supervision, meaning that during his time or rights to see his children happened inside the courthouse under court supervision. He couldn't see his kids alone after that last accusation by the mother. Okay. He lost all visitation rights. And
Can
that
I say something?
was in effect. It was never appealed. There was never any redaction of that restraining order or protective order. And there was no appeal ever filed to get the thing repealed. It was in effect this whole entire time until the girl was 18 years of age. Go ahead.
I know what everybody's thinking, especially the deniers. Well, why didn't he get arrested? Well, I'll give you my opinion on why he didn't get arrested. Because it was his word against the 3-year-old. And in order for them to follow through with the charges, they would have had to put the 3-year-old through very stressful situations. So that's my guess on why. Huh?
Doctor's appointments, psychologists, putting them on a witness stand. They don't do that. You can ask any prosecutor, attorney, judge in this country, what are the hardest crimes to prosecute? And any single one of them will tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the hardest crimes to prosecute are against children. Okay? Because they usually have no witnesses, because they usually do this when they have alone time with the kids and nobody's around because they don't want to get caught. And they also, the kids, when they're getting abused, molested, or groped, don't go home or tell somebody immediately what just happened to them. It might not come out for months. It might not come out for years. And in some cases, we hear cases all the time, it doesn't come out for decades later. So you never have any physical evidence. All you have is the word of a 3-year-old and the denial by the person being accused. And in this specific case, unfortunately, you had a 3-year-old who was coming back telling them that Uncle Nicky was touching her, right? Goes back and tells her mother. They're going to investigate and ask questions. And Nicky's explanation for this whole thing was that not only did the mother accuse him of touching the girl, he claimed that the mother also accused them of the grandfather also touching this girl, where there are no records of, by the way. We FOIA requested anything regarding any of this shit. He is the only person that was accused by the mother of touching that fucking girl, which he lied about. Okay.
Another thing that they do is they will have a doctor do a physical exam and check the baby's vagina to see if there was any, tampering with her hymen. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not letting my kid go through that.
No. And listen, it causes a serious psychological issue. You know what I mean? You have to, you're going to put through kids through doctor's visits, psychology visits, constantly bringing back up the trauma that happened to them, and then having to go to court and putting a 3-year-old on a fucking witness stand. And when all a prosecutor has is the testimony of a 3-year-old, they're not that inept verbally to communicate and tell somebody exactly what's going on. Okay. So they're not going to bring up charges and convict somebody based solely off the testimony of a 3-year-old. It hardly ever happens, if at all. Less than, I think, when I was looking up this stuff at the time to ask about it before I called my cousin and my uncle to ask them about it, because they are attorneys that have their own law firm. I asked them about the processes and stuff that was involved, and they filled me in. They told me that I believe it's less than 10% of these people, of these abusers, these molesters and stuff like that, are ever even brought to justice. Less than 10% of them. Because most often, a lot of the times is, like I said, by the time these kids go back and tell them about what happened, there's no physical evidence. Too much time passed. Okay. And then all you have is the testimony of one person versus the other. And the people are going to go and do exactly what MRE did when he's asked, well, why did the mother accuse you of this? He claims that the mother not only accused him, but accused somebody else in their family. I think he said it was the grandfather or the uncle or some shit like that, which we have no proof of. But the information that we did find out, speaking to somebody in the family, was that he did in fact have an incident where he allegedly was molesting and touching his niece. And then when we looked into it and researched to find out if there were any police reports or restraining orders or protecting orders, guess what? We found them. So obviously the information, the person that told us, because this isn't public information, anything that's regarding a child and shit like that is heavily protected by Department of Children and Families, Child Protective Services, etc. It's almost impossible to get reports from anything that went to child services or shit like that involving minors. All that stuff is heavily redacted and heavily protected. It's very hard to get paperwork like that, okay? So we were limited in the amount of stuff that we were even able to get. But what we did get is a police report and multiple court filings, including the restraining order, the protective order, and the brother signing off on losing visitation rights because of what MRE was doing to his daughter, okay? And there was even an incident, and I believe MRE spoke about this, where the brother tried stabbing him at one point over the shit that was going on. Now, the second time after the restraining order was put into effect, when he didn't show up to the court date, okay? I'm trying to think, not that date, but the second time. So after the restraining order was placed into effect and the brother signed off on not allowing MRE at the house while he had visitation of the kids, the daughter came back a couple of months later and accused MRE of touching her again. Then by some happenstance, within about a month or so that year, MRE wound up in a mental institution. Now, you're not going to be able to find anybody's mental institution paperwork. That's all protected by HIPAA, right? It's very hard to get anybody's medical records or anything like that unless you were directly involved in the case and there's a reason to know that as part of your defense or whatever the case may be. The bottom line is that information is heavily protected by HIPAA laws and shit like that. But we do know that he was in fact instituted by his own admissions during his 2015 arrest. He told the cops this. It's all documented on paperwork out of his own mouth. So this isn't me telling you this. This is all his words. Just like when he said, when they caught him with his methadone bottles, oh, that's my take-home medicine. I have a weakness for heroin. That was out of his mouth. You know how he likes to do shows and say, oh, these aren't going to be my words. I'm going to play their words. Well, we're playing your words right now. These are all things that you said in court paperwork, in court, and on different shows. These are your words and stuff that you've lied on here and tried explaining on here with your bullshit that we've proven to be lies with court paperwork, documented paperwork, and your own bullshit. Okay? So
he had to go to court with a social worker.
Oh yeah. Then here's the other thing. When he gets arrested in 2015 from the Breitbart article, where he gets caught with the firearms, the bulletproof vest, the brass knuckles, the Xanax, the 18 IEDs, during his arraignment at court, a social worker shows up for him. Now, what 30-something-year-old man has a social worker? I'll tell you somebody that has a social worker. Chomos, pedos, mentally ill people. Has anybody ever asked him, hey, why do you have a social worker? Why was there a social worker at your arraignment? It's not like he's going to give you a truthful answer, but it'd be funny to hear him lie and try to make something up, wouldn't it?
Like he always does.
Like he always does. So, going back to the firearms thing, okay? Now, I was telling you before how in 1999, okay, he got his felony conviction for selling drugs, right? And when he was asked, well, how come you had firearms when you knew that you were a convicted felon? He claimed, okay, that he said, I didn't know that I was a felon. They had changed the marijuana laws, and I thought I wasn't a felon anymore, so I went and I bought these guns or whatever, right? Now, his arrest and conviction was in 1999, okay? They didn't start doing marijuana and cannabis reforms and changing the laws until 2018, 19, 2020. In the state of Rhode Island, it's still a crime to be in possession of certain amounts of marijuana. And when they change those marijuana laws, the one thing that they do not give you a pass for is if you have ever been convicted of sales, possessions with intent to sell, or any sales-related offenses. Your record is only expunged or removed for misdemeanors for possession. Possession only, not possession with intent like he got convicted of, that he pled no contest to, by the way. He pled not guilty and was convicted on 2 counts of possession with the intent to distribute narcotics under Rhode Island state law, okay? Now, under Rhode Island state law, that crime that he got convicted of, right, is classified as a crime of violence. Although when people think, crime of violence, you're thinking of, a murder, assault with a deadly weapon, the R word, graping, armed robbery, bank robbery, etc. But it also includes domestic violence. It also includes crimes of violence pertaining to drug dealing and drug sales, because what comes with drug dealing? Violent crimes. So it's deemed and considered a violent crime in the state of Rhode Island. So don't let him tell you that, oh, this was what was the famous thing? Statute 24-parenthetical 5 bullshit. We've already disproven that on here. He's fucking lying. Okay.
Well, you know what we forgot about? We forgot that he also got arrested in 2011 for guns.
Yeah, I got that. I got that queued up here.
All right.
I'm gonna get to that too. So, yeah. So how he's talking about, there was also a case back in 2011. Well, I guess I could just get to it now since we don't want to break it up. So here, in 2011, the police got a phone call that there was some, I think he was like half naked, or he was wearing like a bathrobe or something, and he was walking around the neighborhood with a rifle or a shotgun or something like that at fucking 10 o'clock at night, whatever the case may be. And they called the police because they were worried about a guy walking around the neighborhood with some type of fucking rifle or shotgun in his hand. So they called the police, and the police went to MRE's house, and he answered the door with a shotgun or rifle in his hand. Answered the door to the police with a gun in his hand, just to show you the state of mind this guy is fucking whacked out in all the time. And when the cops asked him, they got a phone call saying he was, somebody was walking around the neighborhood with a gun in their hand. I think he said that there was some type of animals or something.
He was looking for fisher cat.
Oh yeah, he was looking for fisher cats because he thinks there's fisher cats in the neighborhood. But meanwhile, in one of the subsequent reports, it says that he believed that there was North Korean spies or something that were fucking after him. I'll have to get you the link and post it up on Kasparosis, and we'll do a couple more parts on this guy, because like I said when we started off this show, we could do a 2-hour show for the next month straight, stuff about this guy and what a fucking whack job and scumbag he is. And I have no problem doing that. So if need be, I will. Any questions you guys have, we'll do follow-up shows to answer any questions or lies that he'll try to respond to this with. But he claimed that he was worried about North Korean spies or some shit living next door to him, some fucking whacked out shit like that. Anyways, when they asked him if he had any other guns or weapons or something in his house, he said yeah, and he lets the cops into his house, and I think they found 5 or 6 other firearms inside of his house, right?
Yeah, I think one of them had the serial numbers filed down.
Yeah, we're gonna get. Let me get the report right here. Let me see. This is it right here. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Let me add this. This is the link to the post. You guys can find it yourselves. Let me just make sure I got the right one here. I believe that this is it. Let's double check. Let me see if this is the right one. Sorry, guys. Just give me one. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Let me just pull this up. My bad. It's the wrong one. I wish I could label these things and fucking it would be easier to pull them up, but that's all right. I believe this is it right here.
Can you imagine this guy? I every time I hear about him diddling his niece, I get this fucking image in my head of him smelling his fingers. The fucking dirty fucking rat diddler motherfucker.
Yeah, he's a real fucking degenerate miscreant, let me tell you. Fucking real scumbag this guy actually is. That's why I don't even want to hear nothing from the people that fucking support him, because all this information has been out there for a long fucking time. We've posted all this. So right here, this is the page right here. This is a police report, and this is the title of it. You can look on Kasparov's page. Nazi mob rat Bruno the Doberman had his 2015 gun case dismissed under extraordinary circumstances, right? Oh, wait, no. Is this the 2015 one? Shit. I thought this was the 2011 one. Oh, no, this is it. I don't know why. I don't know why he hasn't titled that. Sorry. So right here, you'll read it. It says Lieutenant Levesque, Sergeant Crosby, PTLW, Ardito, and a bunch of the other cops responded to something street in reference to anonymous call for a male partying outside the residence carrying a shotgun. Upon arrival outside the residence, checked negative. Officers then knocked on the door to make contact with any persons and investigate the incident further. Upon the door to the residence opening, I observed a male party later identified as Nicholas Colacone in the doorway holding a shotgun. The officers at this time had their firearms drawn. At gunpoint, the male subject was ordered to drop the gun and to exit the residence, which he did. The subject was ordered to the ground and secured into handcuffs for the safety of all parties. Due to the commotion in the doorway and the names blacked out, also reported to the door. Due to the presence of firearms and the potential for other unknown weapons, he too was ordered outside the residence at gunpoint, which was also secured into handcuffs. When asked why he had the shotgun when he came to the door, Colacone stated he was worried about fisher cats and he's worried about protecting his property. He also stated that he had been outside with a gun earlier. A check of the shotgun, a ball call 12-gauge single shot that was in Mr. Colacone's possession revealed an NCIC hit as stolen out of Frankenmuth Police Department, Michigan. I asked Mr. Colacone if there were any other weapons in the residence, and he advised that there were. He directed the officers to location of firearms in the residence. A total of 5 additional weapons, 4 handguns, 1 shotgun were located and seized. A Smith & Wesson .38 caliber was one of the firearms seized, loaded with 5 rounds. The bottom of the grip handle, when checking the serial number, revealed an NCIC hit as stolen out of Los Angeles. So one gun came back reported stolen out of Michigan. The other revolver came back stolen out of Los Angeles. The serial number checked negative. All other checks of these firearms were negative. A total of 5 firearms ultimately were seized in the incident. Refer to PTLM Lancelotti supplement. Due to this conflicting information, this matter will be forwarded to the Detective Division for a follow-up with the ATF to determine if the weapons were stolen or not. No other firearms were discovered while inside the residence. At this time, Mr. Colacone was advised that he was under arrest for possession of stolen goods, firearms, was taken into custody without further incident, and advised of constitutional rights. Due to the reasons Colacone provided for his actions and the lack of explanation for why he was outside with the shotgun, all the weapons were secured, transported to headquarters, properly tagged, and held for safekeeping. They also spoke with the calling party, the person who called that wanted to remain anonymous, who advised them that they had observed Mr. Colacone outside his residence possessing a shotgun several times today. While on scene, they observed Mr. Colacone, pistol revolver card, which he kept with a firearm, was released on scene without any charge or incident. It was later revealed, spoke via telephone with personnel from the Frankenmuth, that the buccal 12-gauge was entered erroneously and that it wasn't stolen. The further information due to this revelation, a negative conflicting response regarding the serial numbers on the revolver, Mr. Colacone was released from headquarters without charges. Okay. Now, this
And
information
he was still a convicted felon at this time.
right. So basically what happened, and this is what I want to get to, is that you guys all have heard the old saying before, ignorance of the law is no bliss, right? Meaning it doesn't matter whether or not you know you're violating a crime or committing a crime. If it's a statute and it's a law that it's a crime and you do it, whether you're aware of it or not, if you get caught, you're going to get tried and convicted for it because you broke the law, whether you're aware of it or not. He knew that he was a convicted felon and was still in possession with firearms, violating both state and federal laws, right? Now, he claims that he fell through the cracks of the local state of Rhode Island background check search or whatever. I forget the exact thing that he did. We'll tag the video to it and play it. But federal law states that any persons who is a convicted felon or was charged with a crime that could carry a year or more in prison is permanently barred from ever owning or possessing a firearm of any kind, which includes misdemeanors. Some misdemeanors you can get over a year for, depending on the state. Okay? So it's not only felonies, but it also includes some lesser charges of misdemeanors, which makes it federally illegal. Now, the fact that he might have fallen through the cracks during these original searches because he was showing them what the cops are referring to as a blue card, in the state of Rhode Island, you don't need a firearms permit in order to own or own a firearm. You only need them if you are going to carry them. It's a carry license, okay? Now, what you are required to do is to take a safety class. That's when you're issued a blue card. It's a firearm safety class that anybody can take. You're issued a blue card, and that's what you use. But now, when you go down to a firearms dealer, to a gun store, they give you a form to fill out that you have to fill out, and it asks you a litany of questions. The questions that they ask you on this form are, have you ever been tried, charged, or convicted of a felony? Have you ever been under or are under the influence of alcohol, drugs? Have you ever been a dependent of drugs at any time, currently or in the past? It also asks you if you've ever been under psychiatric care or ever been sent to a mental institution or committed to any type of mental institution. Doesn't matter if it's for 1 day, 1 year, or 10 years. These are all questions asked on an FFL form to purchase a firearm, in which he would have had to lie about his felony background for possession with the sale of drugs back in 1999. He would have had to then lie and claim that he wasn't on currently opiates or opioids or taking methadone at that time, depending on what year it was. Then he would also have to lie about not ever being committed to a mental institute or under the care of any psychiatric care for any extended period of time, which he has been on numerous occasions. Any one of those three things, which means they're all punishable by 5 years in prison for every offense, which means any time that he filled out one of these firearm forms means he would have had to lie 3 to 4 different times on every form, carrying a minimum of 20 years every single time he filled those forms out, on top of all the additional charges that he got for the possession of the improvised explosive devices, the Xanax that didn't belong to him, and the brass knuckles, which are all crimes in the state of Rhode Island, okay? So when he gets asked on here, what happened to your case when we first got his paperwork? I asked Mickey, unprivate the show and put those 2 shows out, because I looked in the library and they're not there. Put those videos back up so you can hear his explanation and answers, because they're drastically different from the explanations and answers that he will give to you today. But I remember exactly what they were, and I'll have somebody that's listening forward me the clips so I can play them next time if they want to challenge me on this. I'll have everything lined up for you guys, okay?
So he fell through the cracks twice.
Yeah. Not only did he fall through the cracks in 2011, but then he mysteriously not only fell through the cracks locally on the state level in 2015, but on the federal level too, after getting caught not only with firearms, but also with improvised explosive devices defined by federal law. And we have the letter and the emails from the ATF agent with the write-up on what the items were that they seized from his house that day, because the ATF assisted in that raid, which he also lied about. Now, you have to remember, when that original Breitbart article came out, before before we got the paperwork, and this is something else that he's on here lying about. He keeps telling people that I drove all the way out to Rhode Island to go get his paperwork from the Rhode Island to a court record center. I think he's telling people that I did it now with Chicky. First of all, I'm not friends with Chicky. I don't fucking know Chicky. I don't even like Chicky. Never spoke to that dude a day. Oh, I might have spoken to him on a show once, but that's it. Never spoken to him on the phone, and I would never hang out with that motherfucker. So let's make that clear. So stop lying about that, you fucking fink. All right? He's claiming now that I went out with Chicky to go get his paperwork. First of all, no, I didn't. Okay? I was out in Rhode Island doing business with somebody who owns stores out there who happens to fucking know who you are. His name's Matt. I'm not going to give the rest of it. I'll leave it at that. If you figure it out, good for you. Okay? I went out to go drop off supplies to him at his store because that's what I do for business. All right? While I was there, I went with somebody down to the record center, and I told you this before. You keep saying that it's me. Go down to the record center. When you go and you want to ask the record center for any paperwork or any information, you have to sign a login book. You have to show them an ID, and you have to sign the paperwork with your name on it. Go down and look at the fucking sign-in book and the name on there. You're not going to find my name on there, okay? I'll leave it at that. So stop trying to deflect. If you'll notice, he'll point at, oh, look at this guy's fingernails. They had to drive out here and fucking go and get the fucking records or whatever. Yeah. If anybody wants the records, you have to go to the Rhode Island Record Center. So you can either probably pay to get them emailed or pulled or copied to you, however you want to do it. Or if you happen to be in town and you could drive over there and get them during the hours that are open, you can also just drive down there and go and get them yourself, which is what we did. Okay? Now, you'll notice he's not denying that any of those paperwork is fucking real because he knows it is. He has to deflect and try to point at dirty fingernails or point at the person who he thinks went and got the paperwork because he can't discredit the paperwork because it's from the record center. Right when you open up his folder at the record center, there's a whole fucking folder that goes along with it. That's about 2.5 to 3 inches thick, and it's sealed. The entire case is sealed except for a couple pieces of paperwork regarding the initial arrest, a couple of the items seized during the warrant, the bail agreement, one or two motions for property to get returned to him, and one piece of paperwork on the very top of the page which says the state is agreeing to dismiss the charges due to federal involvement. Now, what that piece of paperwork means is that the state is agreeing not to pursue charges on the state level because the Fed always supersedes the state. If the feds want to take over a case, they will take it over from the state. And what will happen is the defendant or the courts will have to file a motion to the court, to the judge, to let them know why this case is being dismissed, dissolved, adjudicated, whatever it may be, and the reason for doing so. But what you'll notice is, and this is very strange, and it's why Kasparoza challenged him, and I challenged him to sign off to unseal your paperwork, because if you did, we would be able to get all of that information out of his court paperwork, but he will not do it, okay? And here's the reason why. When you get the paperwork, you'll see in there that there's a motion that his attorney files. The defense attorney files a motion with the court, asking the court to dismiss the state's charges. But one thing you'll notice is that there's no motion inside the paperwork itself. That's all part of the sealed folder. There's no information or response from the prosecutor, from the judge, or anything regarding whether or not and why they're agreeing to dismiss the case. All there is a letter dated a couple of days after his attorney asked the state to dismiss the charges, and the response is in the top of the paperwork. The state is agreeing to dismiss the state's charges due to federal involvement. And what does that mean? That means that the feds asked the state not to prosecute the charges because they are going to be picking up the case and charging him federally. And what did we later learn? And this is also on Kasparoza's YouTube page. There's a video out there, and I believe it's in the shorts, okay, where he plays an audio. I believe the title of the video is something about a property hearing or a court date involving items returned for property. And in that, you will hear an audio transcription or audio recording of that court hearing. And inside of that audio, when you're listening towards it, towards the end, after they talk about what items they're going to be giving back to Mr. Colacone, which he also lied about, and I'll get to that in just a second. At the end of that audio recording, you will hear that the judge asked the prosecutor, he says, I want to know what is the status of the federal case. And the prosecutor says, we don't know the exact date. We're still waiting to hear back from them. And MRE's attorney, his attorney, the defense attorney says to the court, they says, we don't have a date. We don't have a date yet, but we already got a letter. The Department of Justice sent him a letter. Okay. Now, what this letter is, for you people that are interested, you can look this up. It's called a target letter. Okay. Now, what a target letter is that it's a letter the Department of Justice or feds will send to somebody when they are being investigated for committing a crime. Okay. Now, the prosecutor and MRE's attorney both admit that there's an ongoing federal investigation. On the record at the property hearing, you'll hear them say that he was sent the target letter by the Department of Justice, that he was notified he's under investigation. So they're both saying and admitting that the feds are involved and the feds are taking over the case. It's in court on record. You can hear the prosecutor and his attorney speaking about this. Now, when we first asked MRE what the paperwork was regarding why the state was dismissing the case due to federal involvement, he claimed for about a year that he didn't know anything about any feds. There was no feds that were ever involved in his case. The ATF was never involved in his case. He has no idea what any of us are talking about. So then what did we do? We said, okay, well, we'll have to prove to him that he's fucking lying because we know he is. So what did we find? We found a news clipping from the night, the local channel's news, the night that he got arrested, okay? And it was the sergeant of the police department that executed the search warrant on the Simmons Valley apartment that he lived in, okay? And was on camera talking about the fact that it was the local Johnston police, the state police, and the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, a federal police
agency
division, federal government branch, all executed the warrant on his property. The local, state, and feds all executed the warrant. Johnston police, state police, and the ATF. Then, during the search warrant, when they found the IEDs in the bedroom, in his closet, I believe, and in some of his drawers, which he claimed was 3 M80s in a coffee can in his kitchen, which turned out to be a lie. They were next to some propane tanks in his closet, okay? Improvised explosive devices next to 2 propane tanks in a closet. I'm sure you can draw a conclusion as to what this guy was trying to fucking do. I'm glad that he got caught. That's all I'll say, right? When they found those, they had to call the bomb squad. Why? Because anytime anything like that is discovered, they need to protect anybody. And considering the fact that he lived in an apartment complex, they had to clear out the entire apartment complex. And there's a video with old ladies sitting on a bench across from where their apartment is, talking about how scared they were that the bomb squad was there trying to evacuate the whole building because of what was found inside this guy's apartment. And there's people on there talking about how he was a recluse, how he really didn't speak to anybody. His apartment was always dark with the blinds always closed, and nobody really seen or spoke to the guy, basically calling him a little weirdo incel that we know he is, like he does on YouTube, in the fucking dark on his fucking show without any lights on, being the little fucking incel weirdo that we all know that he is. All right? So another thing that he lied about. So you ask yourself, why would this guy lie for a year straight about the feds being involved when it was literally on fucking video on a news video from the night news that night? You can't deny this shit. Well, that's because we're learned to know that he's an informant, because there's no other explanation as to why the state would agree to dismiss the state's charges due to federal involvement. The ATF has reports stating that what they found in the apartment, as defined by statute, were improvised explosive devices that he got caught with red-handed, on top of the fact that he has an apartment filled with Nazi Swazi flags, SS bolts, 15 Facebook pages talking shit about Jews and preaching white supremacy shit and the 14 words and posting pictures of his leaders, like all these white supremacist people that are in prison all over the United States for being involved in this fucking alt-right white supremacy movement that he called his dear leader, including a Facebook post where he says, and he said it on here on a couple of shows, that his leader is an Austrian painter. Now, who's an Austrian painter? Adolf Hitler. He was actually born in Austria. And what did Adolf Hitler do before he took over Germany? He was a painter that got turned down from trying to get into basically the German New York School of Juilliard for people that are into shit like that or painting, whatever the fuck it was. And he was denied for it because he wasn't good enough. So he talks about how his leader was an Austrian painter, the same guy that he's got tattooed on his left arm, a tattoo of on his arm. And he claimed he's a history buff. A history buff. Now, you guys believe this shit? Now, you have to ask yourselves, why would somebody for a year and a half lie about the feds being involved in their case, didn't know nothing about it, to then when we showed him the ATF reports, the newspaper articles, all that, all of a sudden on a show, he goes, you know what? I remember one time the feds did meet me at my attorney's office and they made me sign a piece of paper. And the paper said that I promised that I wouldn't leave my attorney's office that day and go out and try to buy any firearms. Maybe that's what this whole thing is about. So he's trying to say that the whole federal involvement thing and the ATF reports and the federal feds being involved in his case was only, the feds only wanted to pick his case up because they wanted him to sign a piece of paperwork that say he wouldn't try to buy any more guns. Geez, I hope you wouldn't try to buy any more guns. That's literally what you're in court for. Buying guns as a convicted felon. You can't buy them, stupid. That's why you're in court, you fucking asshole. Why the fuck would the feds need you to sign a piece of paper telling you not to buy firearms that you know you weren't supposed to fucking own? That's why you got arrested in the first place, you fucking asshole. Are you fucking serious? Yeah, Carlo, exactly. A promissory note. I'll be good, guys. I'm not going to leave here and buy a gun. Give me a fucking break. Who believes this shit? But these are the things that you have to convince yourselves and you have to believe yourselves of in order to believe the bullshit that comes out of his mouth. Okay? You got to convince yourselves of a lot of crazy fucking shit. That's why I said, at this point, if you guys have heard this information and have looked at it yourselves and you still go back there and support that motherfucker, I know who and what you are. You don't need to tell me. That's why I don't want you in this chat, on the show, or anything to do with you because it's black and white. I would have more respect for the guy if he just owned his shit. And the only reason this whole thing was made a big deal out of is because his entire channel was going after people who cooperated with the government when he himself did. He won't unseal his fucking paperwork or his cases. Ask him why not. He don't have nothing to hide, right? What are you worried about? Kasparoza openly challenged him and told him, we'll redact any of the medical records that are in there. Nobody gives a fuck about your medical records or how fucking ubot you are or crazy you are or fucking what medications you're on. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. But the rest of it, and you could write it up and sign off on it, why won't you do it? Ask him. Why not? I'm saying if you have a channel and you call yourself Mob Rats Exposed and you go after government cooperators or people that informed or testified on behalf of the government, there should be open transparency with you and yourself when you have charges and allegations on your record and on your jacket that are court documents from multiple courts, from multiple agencies over a 20-year span of time, that you should be forthcoming to show your people that you stand on what you say. And the bottom line is that he doesn't. He deflects. He goes after everybody that he claims he hates because he hates himself. That's why he can't look in the mirror. And he projects all of his own insecurities on everybody else. That's why he calls people fucking pedos. That's why he calls people junkies and heroin addicts. That's why he calls people fucking rats and all that other shit. He's talking about himself. It's called the projection. It's called projection. We've seen everybody on here come on here that gets caught do this shit. They all fucking do it. It's habitual with these types of people. Okay? You want to add anything?
Birds of a feather flock together.
Exactly.
Woo! I'll tell you one thing. All this talking gave me a sore throat.
Yeah, my throat's sore too. I hear me losing my voice. My bad. Go ahead.
I'm joking. No. I listen. You said it all. You said
No,
it all.
I'm asking you. I'm losing my voice. I gotta get a drink. I'm asking you to take over. Yeah.
So what do you people think? I mean, for the most part, I see a lot of names that I recognize, so I'm sure we're all on the same page. But this is for the people who aren't on the same page. Now you know. So if you decide to overlook it and continue to support the guy, you're just as fucking guilty as he is. That just lets me know that you're a fucking Nazi Diddler sympathizer.
And guys, if you haven't already, if you guys are enjoying the show, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I got a couple of donations in. I honestly don't remember if you guys wanted to be anonymous or not, and they aren't specified in here, so I don't want to say your names, but you guys know who you are. I want to thank you guys very much. I really appreciate that. It really does mean a lot to me. You know, I'm not monetized on here, so you know I do come on here and we do this stuff, and I do appreciate the people that have come over and sent those donations to me. I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and to that person that sent the $100.
Oh, hey.
Good looking out.
Hey, whoa, wait. But yeah, thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. And I'll be getting back to you guys. I'll send a reply when the show's over with. I just found out that you can reply to the messages, so I'll try to get back to you guys that did send one over. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. But as I said, you know, kind of to wrap up now, because we have been on for 2 hours. We like to kind of hold these shows like an hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever. We'll be on for a few minutes longer if anybody wants to ask anything. But there's going to be more parts to this because, like I said, I could do a whole month, 2 hours a night, every single day with all the stuff that we know about this guy and the lies that he said on here. So this isn't the end of it, just to let you guys know. But my voice is getting a little bit dry here and sore because I have been talking unfortunately for two hours.
Does anybody in the chat have anything they want to add?
Yeah, if anybody wants to add anything, got any questions, comments, any of the new people that are around, don't be shy. We got your back on here. The guy's a fucking neo-Nazi, white supremacist, fucking kid diddling fucking rat, and he can't prove otherwise. So, I was getting to a part. I didn't want to cut you off. I was gonna say something. I fucking forgot what the fuck it was, man.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't want to cut me off.
Yeah, no. Oh yeah, here it is. Red made a comment right here. No one is that lucky. Yeah. In order for you to believe that all of this shit is lies and everybody accusing him of being a white supremacist, anti-Semite, neo-Nazi, a government cooperator informant, and a fucking credibly accused kid diddler, you have to believe that this guy, he should be buying a Powerball ticket every night because he got to be the luckiest, unluckiest son of a bitch on the entire planet that out of all the people on here gets accused of all of this heinous fucking shit, and the guy's innocent, man. It's you'd have to be a fucking asshole to sit back here and tell and say that with a straight face. He's got to be the most unlucky son of a bitch on the entire planet that all these people who don't know each other, that got nothing to do with each other, all just accuse poor MRE of being all these fucking things. How come they're not bringing this shit up and saying it about anybody else? Because like I said, go back to the beginning of this show, like this fucking clown over in England that's putting shit out right now. He's putting out information on a black guy, okay? We're putting out information on him. You understand the difference? In order for you to listen to those guys, you got to believe in their fucking lies. All we do is tell the truth about these people. Remember that. And that's the fucking difference. Okay?
So they're all frauds.
All of them.
Matty Marinara, Zio, they're all frauds. They all fucking they don't stand for shit if they don't fucking realize that their boy MRE's a fucking rat diddler Nazi himself. That just means you don't give a fuck because you guys are fucking probably alike.
Yeah, they don't want to know the truth because they either agree with that or they are themselves that shit, and that's as good for them. Or the other thing on here is that, you know, people don't like certain people, so they'll just try to discredit the person that they're hearing it from. So like I said, if you want to spend the time to go do the FOIA request, we'll tell you where to get them. All the information that you're going to find on Casper Rosa's site or that I put up on this site is all stuff that came directly from police departments, courthouses, court record centers, and the government. Okay? All of it. Now, it took us about 2 years to compile and get responses from a lot of these places to get a lot of this information back. It wasn't that easy, but if you guys want to go find it out for yourselves, you can easily find it, and you're going to come back and get the same information that we got. And all you're going to hear, and it's unfortunate that you guys haven't been here for the last 4 years and watching these shows, because a lot of them got taken down. But we remember what this guy said originally about all of these things. He said when he first got asked about this gun case and why he never did any time over it and shit like that, when he was still friends with Mickey and going on her show, okay? And the video got taken down, but if somebody has that clip and you're listening, please get it to me directly, or if you can't, get it to somebody that I speak to so they can get it to me, please. Or post it on a channel, or send me the link to the channel it's posted on so I can bring it up if need be, okay? But when he was first asked about this, before we got his paperwork, anything, he went on Mickey's show and he said, oh, basically the case was a big misunderstanding. He bought all these guns fucking legally, and that his lawyer got the case thrown out in less than a month. He said, I went to court one time and the case got dismissed in under a month, he said, right? Well, what did we find out when we got his court paperwork? Not only was the case not dismissed in a month, it took over a year. I believe it was a year and 3 months until the feds came in and the state dismissed the state's charges, okay? So that was the first thing that he ever lied about, was the fact that he claims the case got thrown out right away because it was nothing. The cops and everybody made a mistake. We found out a year or something later that was all a fucking lie. Proven with the court records and court dates in his case file, okay? Then we found out about the fucking ATF shit, the IEDs, verified all that. Then about a year or so later, we found out from somebody that knows one of his family members that there was this case involving his niece, okay? Then we went through, did a FOIA request, got information on that, posted all of that shit, including the restraining order, the protective order, and then the brother losing visitation rights of his own child and shit, and had to get court-ordered supervised visits because Uncle Bad Touch, Nikki over there, kept touching the fucking niece, according to the niece that was telling her mother this, okay? He lies till this day and says, now, he got caught one day fucking up because what he does is, I don't remember if it was on Stand Up Guy's show or if it was on Mickey's show, because he was going to both shows for a while. And what he would do is that he would lull himself into a false sense of security by going on panels that he knew wouldn't ask him the hard questions or the follow-up questions. That's why he won't go on panels to talk about any of this. He'll only go on friendly shows that he knows won't be asking him these tough questions, so he can just spew his nonsense without any follow-ups, okay? Because he said that he knew nothing about this, didn't know anything about a restraining order or protective order, and had no idea about his brother losing visitation rights, all this. He slips up one day and is on a show and tells people that one time he was at his mother's house and the niece's mom called the house looking for his mother and he answered the phone. And I'm gonna leave it on this. He said that he answered the phone and realized that it was his brother's ex, the girl's mother that accused him of touching her. And he said, when she was on the phone, I asked her, why did you say that stuff about me? And she apologized to me and said that she was mad at my brother. She was trying to get back at my brother by accusing him of being a fucking diddler, and said that she apologized to him. So I ask you guys this again. This is the same guy who claims that he didn't know anything about the investigation into touching the niece. Nobody ever questioned him. Nobody ever talked to him. He didn't know anything about a restraining order or a protective order when it's mandated by law that the person has to be served and notified for the court date to get the official restraining order, and how his brother lost visitation. So then how were you on the phone with the girl's mother asking her why she accused you of all this shit when you claim you don't know anything about it?
And another thing.
Because he told on himself. Listen, he tells on himself all the time because he's lying. How could he ask the girl's mother why she accused him of touching the niece when he claims he didn't know anything about it and was never asked or even questioned about it? He told on himself. You people just don't listen. Sorry, Hal.
So I ask you this to all the scumbags who support this guy. Can you guys fucking look at each other with a straight face and tell each other that this guy is not fucking guilty of any of these crimes?
And regardless if you support people or don't of being a cooperator, okay, no problem. regardless of you supporting people that may or may not be racist or anti-Semites, whatever. But I think every person on here can say that nobody supports a fucking diddling fucking chomo. And if you do, stay the fuck over there, because at this point, it's either willful ignorance or you have no problem with it. And maybe you yourself are one, or people in your family, or you just don't give a fuck. But I hope you wouldn't leave any of your kids around them, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and you guys sit over there like you are these big tough guys. Yeah, I'd like to see how you would behave when your fucking lawyer tells you you're facing 20, 30 years.
Well,
You
we know
guys,
how MRE was feeling. He had a fucking massive heart attack and was complaining about chest pains and wound up having to get open heart surgery because he was scared to fucking death.
Yeah, all of these people that fucking talk all of this shit, rat this, rat that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, tell me with a straight face that you guys are ready to do 20 or 30 years. You all claim to be fucking tough guys and street guys. You don't even have criminal records.
So
half of you.
Yeah, most of them, yeah. And here's something I just wanted to pull up, because people like to throw this word around here, slander, right? Now, everybody can see on here, right? It's the action or crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation. Making false and damaging statements about somebody, right? That's what these people do, okay? Because they do it without providing one single piece of proof or piece of fucking evidence, all right? And here's the definition for defamation. The action of damaging the good reputation of someone, slander or libel. I'm sorry, but I don't know how you could defame somebody who has a fucking Adolf Hitler tattoo on their arm. Your reputation is already shit, my friend. You're a fucking white supremacist, racist, anti-Semite scumbag, bro. You can't defame somebody who's already a fucking scumbag, all right? And nothing that we've said, and I stand on this, is any lies or insinuations or anything. We've put up documented proof from the police department, the Rhode Island's Court Record Center, the Superior fucking Court, the ATF, and from the federal government. Those are pretty credible sources, if you ask me. And why is it that out of all these people on here, nobody else is looking up people's records, finding any of this shit about any of these other fucking people? And you have to ask yourself, why not? How is it that this guy's the most unlucky son of a bitch on the entire planet, that all these people accuse him of being and doing all of this fucking shit, and it's poor fucking Uncle Nicky? I just get blamed for everything. No. You get outed and exposed for all of your shit. Remember, everything that's done in the dark eventually comes to the light. We just happen to be the light.
Yeah, and another thing, for all you veterans out there and people who have relatives that are veterans, how would you think your veteran relatives, or how do you think a veteran would feel about looking at a guy wearing a fucking Hitler tattoo?
And the other thing that I find so funny is that for the first year and a half or whatever, when he was still friends with Mickey and them, she brought on 13 or 14 of his friends or whatever. Now, this guy used to troll her so much to the point that when a lot of this stuff was going on, and it really came out about all the stuff we found on the 4chan websites and the BitChute websites about him going on his anti-Semitic tirades and the Goys in the Hood radio show, which he tried scrubbing off the internet. But the problem for him is that he had so many Facebook accounts and so many different profiles on all of these websites, he forgot the usernames and passwords, so he wasn't able to delete all of them. Otherwise, he would have tried to do that too. But he was locked out of them and couldn't get into them to fucking scrub them or delete them. That's how we wound up finding all this shit, okay? He came on the show one night and was wearing a basketball jersey. Now, not only was he wearing a basketball jersey, he was wearing the Dirk Nowitzki basketball jersey for Germany, who guess what? Happens to play under the number 14, okay? Now, I told you guys this before, and I'll say it again. The 14 represents one of the main mantras in that white supremacist community. It's something about passing on the bloodline to your children to secure their future, some weird shit like that. It's a quote by some guy named David Lane, I think the guy's name was. Now, David Lane was an alt-right white supremacist anti-Semite who coined these 14 words that these white supremacist groups have used to care. It's some like slogan or something that they fucking use, the 14 words. And on MRE's Facebook pages, the 15 of them that he ran, that he consistently kept getting removed off of Facebook for anti-Semitic hateful speech because of all the anti-Semitic shit he would say on them. He had to keep creating new Facebook accounts and making up new accounts to post shit because they kept removing his content for being hateful, abusive, and violating Facebook's guidelines and standards, which he would go on tirades blaming the Zionist Jews and fucking people that ran Facebook for taking him off the internet. He would go on tirades about this shit. Now,
and all of them also claim that they would never call the cops when MRE is clearly on a video saying, yeah, call the cops.
Oh, yeah. When he was with Patrick Little at Brown University, when they were going on their Jews RAPE kids tours, talking shit about Jewish people at one of the biggest Jewish communities in Rhode Island, somebody was driving by in a car and threatened to come back and fucking beat him up or something. So MRE turns around and says, somebody call 911, call the cops. They're making big threats. That video's out there too. We can play it. So Mr. fucking tough guy that doesn't call the cops is on video, scared that these people were going to come back and jump him or something like that, that he wanted to call 911 for some help. That's the guy you guys support over there, the tough guy. Call 911.
So I guess all you guys over there also support rats.
Well, like, if they support him, then they support rats. That's a fact. So here it is right here. So this is on, you guys can go and look up this website. This is the ADL website. This is a government website, adl.org, okay? And you could scroll up here to the top, and it could say, hate on display, hate symbols database, okay? Now, you'll see on here, this skull, you guys see the skull up here? This is called the Totenkopf, some shit like that. He has multiple pictures on his Facebook page wearing sweatshirts and hats with this exact symbol. The one next to that on the far right there, you'll see that picture. That's the Nazi swastika. He has flags and memorabilia all over his house with that. In the bottom left corner, it's some type of cross, this cross here in the bottom left corner. He has flags behind him in some of the photos and videos that we'll put up, including shirts and other things that he's wearing this exact image of. And then you have the SS bolts over there, which he has a flag of standing behind in his living room, where he's holding up an AK-47 with his face covered inside of his living room, hanging on the wall at his house. Okay? So on this website, you can scroll down and you can look up all the odal runes. Some of them he has tattooed on his body, but you'll come to this part right here where it says 14, and it explains what the 14 means. Okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because he used to troll Mickey and them with shit he used to do on her show, where he'd throw up the white power symbol, whatever. Well, one day he came on when he was being accused of all this white supremacist and shit like that. He goes on and he's wearing a Dirk Nowitzki basketball jersey, the number 14. Now, what are the odds of all the basketball players that you would like and all the jerseys that you could wear, you'd come on wearing one that's the number 14, that's of a white German guy, okay? Germany, Nazi, white supremacist shit, white German guy playing basketball, a predominantly African-American dominated fucking sport. And he's wearing the jersey of the white fucking German guy with the number fucking 14 on it. Okay? This is the type of shit that he used to do all the time, trolling these people. But they were too stupid and hated us so much that they just couldn't look at the shit that was right in front of them. They were blinded by the fact that they were wrong, and they just couldn't fucking come to it to admit that they were wrong. That's a big problem on here, is people and their fucking egos. It gets the best of people, all right? People have to knock themselves down a little bit of peg. We're all fucking human, all right? We all make fucking mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Nobody. Do we like being wrong? Does somebody? No, nobody does. I get it. But enough is enough with this shit. There's so much overwhelming evidence and information that we have put out there about this motherfucker showing who and what this guy fucking is. It's not even up for debate. It's not even a question. And when I hear that fucking asshole Mickey over there saying, oh, I supported him for 2 years and they used to send me all this shit and I didn't care because I was friends with him. I didn't want to see it. That's called willful ignorance, and that's your fucking problem. You chose You chose not to look at the information. It wasn't that you weren't presented the information. It wasn't that you didn't know about the information. It's that you chose not to look at it because you knew what the fuck you would have to do if you actually looked at it and read it. Because you couldn't possibly be this fucking stupid. So what she did is she played fucking dumb, says that I never looked at it. I never read any of it. I didn't care. He was my friend, so I didn't care what they were showing about me. So basically what she's saying is that somebody could go out tomorrow, they could grape an old lady, behead a little fucking baby, and diddle a couple fucking other kids in their neighborhood. But if she's friends with them, she doesn't want to read the newspaper article about it, or watch the news fucking show that they did on it, or look at any of the court documents when they get tried and convicted of it, or are in court right now being prosecuted for it, because that's my friend. I just don't want to know that that's true about him. So you can go on her show. She's basically saying you could be the biggest scumbag lowlife in the world, but as long as I don't have proof that you are, you're welcome on my fucking channel. Yet, as soon as she had a falling out with this guy after he told everybody about his relationship with her daughter, all of a sudden it came, I had lawyers that were telling me to stay away from this guy. People were sending me all of this shit. You came on my show and you lied to me for years. You came on here and lied to me every time I asked you about this. And he got caught in these lies. And he got caught and he got caught again. And then he lied again and he would get caught some more. Yeah, Mickey, this is why we blame you for that scourge still being in this fucking community. Because if it wasn't for you and you looked at the information the day we all found out about it, we reached out to you and gave you a heads up to show you this information, and you refused to fucking look at it because I liked him. He makes me laugh. He's so funny. Well, now you have to fucking pay for it because you chose not to look at any of this shit. It was your decision not to do any of that. So you have to own that and accept that. It's your fault because you wanted to play ignorance. Ignorance of the law is no bliss. Just because you wanted to act ignorant and chose to be isn't our fucking fault. You were given this information and knew all about it. And you knew all about this shit when you invited him to your house to make him a chicken pot pie, except for the information about the niece that came out afterwards. That's the only thing. All this other shit you knew about.
Yeah, and then you go and say that your daughter found him disgusting, that nothing ever happened. But then you go and tell Kasparosa that he kisses like a fish. I'd like to know, how do you know he kisses like a fish?
I think all of us would like to know the answer to that. How is that? If she didn't kiss him and there was nothing there, then I'm assuming that you kissed him then, because how'd you know he kissed like a fish? Why'd you tell him that? Somebody in that house kissed him. And if it wasn't her, are you saying that it was you?
Yep.
Or you're lying about it and there was something between the two of them and you made that comment not realizing people were going to find out about it and start fucking asking questions. And I'll say this again. I saw a snippet. I didn't get to see the whole thing. Oh, somebody just sent me something on PayPal. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know if you want me to shout you out or not, but thank you so much. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Thank you. They sent over $20. Thank you very much. I don't know why it doesn't say the name. That's weird. Sorry, what part was I at, man?
You were talking about having him over the house.
Oh, yes. The other day or last night or whatever, Eric asked Silo about him telling everybody that MRE was the baby's father, starting that rumor. And Lilo made a comment saying that I was over here at that time when the baby was born, basically saying that he was on Mickey's show. They were already speaking it together at the date that the daughter was born, trying to say that. I didn't say that. I was on this side already. I was already on the show. Stupid. It takes 9 months to have a baby. You told me that months earlier when you were still fighting with fucking Mickey. I remember the exact phone call and where I was. All right, I was on the Merritt fucking Turnpike. You were sending me fucking text messages, and I was driving. I was stuck in fucking traffic on the Merritt Parkway. So I fucking called you and talked to you. And you told me about the fucking baby shower, okay? You told me that your girl went there, that there was nobody from the baby's daddy's side of the family fucking there. It was only Angel's immediate family and her friends and shit like that. Nobody was over there. And that you insinuated that you believed that MRE was the baby's fucking father. You told me that. That's on my mother's grave. You're also the person that told me everybody knows John Jr.'s a rat. And you told me that her daughter was not the same girl in those newspaper articles you see at her brother's trial that was 100 pounds ago. You were calling her fat because I asked you, I said, when you made the insinuation that MRE was the baby's father, I said to him, I said, I still don't understand for the life of me why she would even be interested in that guy. Everybody saw his fucking picture on Breitbart. What the fuck would she want anything to do with that fat slob for? And that's when he said to me, well, that's not the cute girl you see in those newspaper articles. That was 100 pounds ago. And I said, well, to be fair, she did just have a baby. Or she's having a baby. So this goes to show you that not only was this around the time when she gave birth, it was right before this that he was telling me this. They must have made up within those like two months or so. Because it was obviously after the baby shower, but before the kid was born, because I said she is having a baby. And he says, no, before the baby. That was 100 pounds ago, meaning she was fat. Basically saying like, oh, well, she's not cute anymore. She's 100 pounds heavier. So she's kind of fat like MRE is. So maybe that's why he had a chance. That's what he said. Okay? I'll take a lie detector test to that. I challenge Lilo to do the same.
Yeah, and you know,
I'm not the only one he said this to. He told other people the same shit, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, Howard.
No, it's all right.
You want to add anything? Anybody got anything to ask? Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up and we'll pick back up on the next show. If you guys want to leave anything in the comment section afterwards, because my throat is going on me. So we've been on here for almost 2.5 hours. So
yeah, mine too. I've been talking way too much.
I know. I was gonna say you've been in rare form tonight, man. You haven't shut the fuck up.
All right, people. Always a pleasure. We had to do this show because that sexual deviant stuck his head out.
Yep.
So, you know, everybody have a good night. I hope you enjoyed what we had to say. And that's it. You know, have a good night, Carmen. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll give you a call in a minute, Hal. I want to thank everybody that supported the show. Thank you so much for the donations. Like I said, I don't remember who does and doesn't want to be anonymous. So the couple people that I'm not sure of, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Shout out to Joe. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Stay tuned. We'll be doing another live shortly. I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of questions and follow-ups, people that say stuff, and we'll come back and we'll catch you guys on the next live. If anybody else would like to donate, the information's at the bottom of the screen. Otherwise, if you guys can, please, if you enjoyed this show, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and look out for the notifications. We'll be on soon. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Catch you soon, guys. Ciao.